In Daddy Recovery, I want to recover from how big of a loser my father was, which may sound harsh, but is actually pretty nuanced. When your father is a sadist with a severe God complex, it is hard to acknowledge he is a deadbeat just off his sheer arrogance. My father was the first person to say addiction was a disease, and he loved to use that quote to explain why he left his kids hungry. If cruelty is an illness, my father was terminal. And acknowledging that is a big step for me, especially because he did not acknowledge me. As Yali angry cried, I just sat and listened. Her angry cries were strange. She would scrunch up her face so hard her tears could barely come out, and I sincerely feel that was the purpose. She would rather look facially constipated than sad. But she had every right to be. Going through a whirlwind divorce had left her unpacking a reality many women do, nowadays at least. She had been married to a loser, whom actually thought she was the loser. Yet Yali was not easy in acknowledging that she had gotten played by someone who was not even a player. He was genuinely a loser, which is why she was shocked to know he was going to work the very job she got him and saying he was single. Did he not wear his ring, Deandra? She asked, knowing the answer. She had run into one of his favorite coworkers at a Starbucks. When married, he remarked that Patrick was the funniest guy in the world. That is why his proud Irish parents named him Patrick Patrick. He left people doing double takes with the craziest, she said. Honoring their kinship, Yali liked every one of their pub pictures. In typical overthinking fashion, she thought she had to strike up a friendly conversation with him, a way to save grace under their separating fire. After all, he had to know that though her post likes were leaving from under her ex's social reds, it was not personal. Yet there was no need. Yali, presuming he knew they were married, was trying to act like divorce changed nothing, and she could run into his world like a butterfly and just flap away with no hard feelings and spring in her step. You look so familiar, he said. I was married to your coworker, she smiled humbly. Which one? He asked in a friendly tone. Yali, a little shaken, said, Javier. He's not married, he said blankly. We're divorcing, she replied humbly again, not yet realizing they were having two very different conversations. No, I hang out with him all the time. He never said he was married. We've even flirted with a few girls together. He's single. At this point of her retelling, I had multiple questions. First of all, what woman approaches a man to say she's married with his friend? That's not just something we invent. Why was why was Patrick fighting so hard? Also, what the F did he mean they were flirting with girls? Was he saying he was single or just acting like he was and letting everyone presume it? You know what I mean? Like when Rita Ora let everyone presume she was black, but she was actually Armenian. After all, we presumed, never asked, and she got some material clout from it. Yet for Yali, the concept of his potential infidelity was outrageously painful. Sure, they were not having sex near the end. Of course, he debased her body and spirit. And yes, he did pick up a gym membership and a pension for weekend bro trips. But surely he was loyal, even if not in love. Still, Yali was just trying to process the pain of her anonymity in his life, especially when she was a good wife. I felt her pain as a good daughter. One of the reasons my father wanted to get rid of me so badly and consistently asked me not to meet my cousins or his family was because if no one sees us, he does not have to speak on us and my origins. To his world, my mother and I never existed, something I noted the one time I met his grandkids. They were curious where I came from, why I looked different, and basically who I was. And frankly, I understood. My father made me cry every day with his abuse. But once he left, he was allowed to be like Javier, a beacon of light for the people he actually liked or wanted to like him. What Yali was grieving was not the fact that her husband hit her, disliked her, and probably cheated. She was grieving the unnecessary abuse he used to do it and how she stayed. My father tore me down every moment he could and then wept to my siblings how I did not want him. He humiliated me in every single public outing he could find and yet hid me from the publicity of his own world. Telling new friends he only had 3 kids, not 4, and one wife, not 2, at the same time. I let a loser beat me down for all my life in hopes I would get his love, and he was blatantly telling me, it was not happening, honey. Yali had done the same. My abuser was called dad, and hers was called husband, and both had too high a title for how lowly they were in spirit. So why were they ashamed of us? More importantly, why were we ashamed of us? So let's dissect, people. Let's dissect. Um, Woof, what an episode. Yeah, so Yali, I have an episode coming up, my bestie, my mommy. And I think every person has a friend that is very like one of their parents. To hang out with them makes us feel like we are hanging out with our father before they became our father, with our mother before they became our mother. We're meeting the single, fun version, youthful version of our parents, and kind of analyzing where they went wrong or why or right. What did we bring to them? And with Yali, I think what makes her so similar to my mom. Coco. What makes her so similar to my mom is that they are both very intelligent women that refuse to acknowledge when they have fallen into a trap or when someone has played them because that challenges their intelligence. And that challenges the main point of their identity. Like they think they are smart, strong, ambitious, forward women. And then comes this scam artist, this loser who really successfully pulled a veil on them. And when that veil is lifted, they struggle grieving because they think to to grieve what they did is also to kind of claim their stupidity. But I don't even think intelligence has to be involved. I mean, yeah, I guess it is, but it doesn't. I would rather heal from my stupidity and grieve their cruelty than just act like nothing happened and potentially fall into the trap again. And that's why sometimes with daddy recovery, I try to really analyze my role in situations, because part of why I have so many toxic exes, part of why I have like these bad choices in business and these really poor friendships is I just tell myself I'm a good person because I love. And I don't see that I'm not becoming a better person because I don't love myself. And if I loved myself, I would be able and I would be brave enough to analyze when I am stupid, when I don't see the red flags, when I think ignoring the red flags or turning them pink is a healthier option. And they don't do that. They would rather throw themselves in traffic. And it's really frustrating as my mother's daughter and as Yali's bestie sometimes to handle that, because they they kind of make me their open ear and their emotional vent. And I feel sometimes like I'm a diary page that then they rip up because the next day they act like nothing happened. And it's okay, what can we do? Tomato, tomato. And I hate it because it affects me. And it makes me feel like when I see them headed for danger or the same type of danger, I can't say anything because that's not how they process. And if I'm a good friend or a good daughter, I just have to respect their process and be there for the crash. Um, but I think it's funny because I had two thoughts. Like I was like, Patrick, what woman goes up to you and tells you I'm married to your bestie, your co-working bestie, and just invents that? Like that's just not something we invent. Like that's not, like, and not even saying I'm married, I'm divorcing him. Why would I say I'm divorcing your co-working? But no, you must have the wrong man. Come on now. But then it was like, oh God, was he cheating? I think he was cheating. And he went into a new relationship very quickly. But it was also, I think this is Yali's perspective was she was more hurt that he didn't grieve the marriage, although he kind of exited before he exited, because that was something that I spoke about. My father always mistreated me, always was very purposefully cruel, debasing me mentally, financially, running schemes to hurt me. And then he would say, but I love you, would put me in danger and then say, but call me if you need, putting me in need. And I think in my perspective, it's kind of like, what was he supposed to grieve? He was mistreating you the whole time until he got so bored mistreating you that he left. And that's what happened with my dad. When my dad we did a 3-day kind of, can this relationship work out? He went back to abusing me. And then my mother called him, what the hell? And he said, well, I hope she has a great life. Bye. And when I had met, he literally said that. And when I had met his grandchildren like a decade or so before, they didn't really know about me. They didn't know about me. Let me just say it. They didn't know about me. They were, who's she? Why does she look like that? Like, typical little kid curiosity. Where's she from? Oh, she has a different mommy. And I know my father stopped mentioning me. And part of why he didn't want me back into his life and never wanted me fully into his life is because I was hidden. Like, I wasn't invited to their family functions, very, very rarely. I would see on Facebook all these gatherings, aunts, uncles. I wasn't invited, very rarely. And he didn't like when I started growing closer to my cousins. My father wanted me erased, and he was abusing me so I would stay that way. And I think part of the grief that Yali is going through is that you could have just left. You didn't even have to enter my world. To be so intentionally horrible to me so that I stay submissive to you is proof that it's not just that you didn't want to do better for me, is that you wanted to do me harm. You wanted to harm me. And all I did was love you. You wanted to destroy me. And all I did was want to be with you. And now I have to analyze, why the hell would I want to be with my abuser for 7 years? Or for me, my life. And that's really hard, because it's hard not to think that that woman is stupid. It's hard not to think that that person who's just, all doe-eyed while this man is punching her down is not the biggest idiot on earth. What can we do? Um, and yeah, I mentioned Rita Ora because I think she's just a perfect example. For a long time, I had no idea. But I'm not the best with that stuff. I thought Michael Jackson, like growing up, I thought Michael Jackson was two separate people. Like there were two Michael Jacksons, white Michael Jackson, black Michael Jackson. Apparently they were the one and the same. But everybody, there was a grand portion of the internet that swore Rita Ora was black. And it was a prominent theory, I guess, a theory. And she didn't really correct it. And she actually, the claim was that she got material clout. She benefited from it, got a black following that thinks that she's black. And it's one of those things where I think it's a perfect example of what I was trying to say, which is like, I never said I was single or married, but because I acted like I was, or you presumed I acted like I was, I got some material benefits. Like we went to the pub and we flirted. Whether or not he went with girls, we will never know. And it's one of those things where it falls back on you. What does acting single, acting black look like? What are the features? And obviously they are very, very different in spectrum, right? But it's this kind of sometimes people weasel their way or snake. And I'm not calling Rita Ora a weasel or snake. Nope, nope, nope. But what I'm trying to say is sometimes people can weasel their way into poor behavior or be very sneaky and get some material clout by not, by letting you assume what's true and having technically the moral right not to correct you. Like, if you want to say what I am and I'm not that, I don't have to be involved in your conversation with yourself about what is my identity. And I think with her husband, what was really hurtful was, but you're married and you do got a wife. And ew. You know, I don't think that logic necessarily works. But hey, what do I know, right? I don't weasel. I don't weasel. But it's a logic that my father had as well, which is this kind of concept of, and I talked about it in Jesse in Japan, this kind of idea of the way you present yourself to people. It's on people whether or not they believe you and what they believe about you. It's on you to present yourself, and it is a valid it's valid to present yourself how you want. After all, fake it till you make it. If you want to be a CEO, you got to act like a CEO, right, until you actually become one. But and while the problem is there is truth to that, the clash comes in the moral murkiness of who you betrayed, whether they should have been betrayed, whether they really just betrayed themselves. The whole, it goes back to that whole adage: when you assume, you make an ass out of you or me. Who's really the ass? These are valid questions. But check out daddyrecovery.com. And just follow me, please. Follow. Love you.